Today on the Shrewd Dudes podcast, we are going to talk about a few different things. In This Week in Satire, we're going to address corporations putting rainbow lamb's blood over the doorsteps so that
they're appropriating everything.
so that the demon of rainbow darkness, whatever, will pass over them and that they will be saved from violent riots.
That's very important.
Yes. The rest of the week, we are going to address the MLB and how you cannot disobey the woke mob.
Dissent is never
and
okay.
Apologizing, that doesn't do anything.
Never.
In Big Brother, Where Art Thou? Come on, Twitter. What the hell is going on? Who's really in charge there?
Yep, some shenanigans are going on over there.
Elon, hashtag, make layoffs great again. And then finally, in our weekly exposure, we are going to talk about a whole bunch of crazy people from Canada, Italy, and beyond. All of that and more on the Shrewd Dudes podcast. All right, we are back for another Thursday live stream, and Danny is now back rejoining with us. He is in his new house with new Wi-Fi speeds, and we are very, very thankful.
Oh man, I feel like I'm literally like flying through like in the past, loading up all these tabs. My computer would get so slow, and I'm like, no, please don't do it, no, and it would like completely tank on me. And this time I'm like, I can
load things.
I can load more. There's no lag. It's great.
Yes.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah. I just remember that one time you showed when we had the 2020 election at my house and everybody had like computers and phones and you're like, everybody has video and nobody is buffering, and I'm like,
what is this magic?
And you're like, this is magic.
there's some kind of terrible sorcery going on here.
No, it's just like fairly reasonable Wi-Fi speeds.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why we got the 150, because I was like, well, if we have people over, we definitely want to be able to use the internet without like massive lag.
Massive lag and massive delays.
It's I don't know. I think good times coming. Good times. I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do with this new power. Unlimited power.
Okay, come on, rein it back.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited. But the only downside is that working this hard to actually get my house somewhat set up, I literally have not had a chance to even shave. So like I got I got the most stubble I think I've had in a while.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, Danny, you got the beard and it's kind of looking weird.
I'm getting the beard going. Making beards great again.
Making beards great again. I don't know if I'll say that, but sure.
Well, the funny thing is, I talk to people all the time who like they say like they wish they could get a proper beard. Like they can't grow a beard properly. They got like weird patchy spots and it doesn't grow properly. I'm like, if I just don't shave, I will get a perfect beard in no time. Like I basically have to put no effort into it.
Yeah, see, I have to put an immense amount of effort in, and then even with an immense amount of effort in, I'll still get exactly the type of playoff beard and the disgustingness of which it was. It was truly horrific.
Look, I got perfect coverage. Like my beard is completely covering everything. Like if I wanted to grow a beard, I could grow the most luxurious like Gimli beard. I could be like Gimli with like the solid you could pretty much hang weights on it. So it's gonna be good, man. So yeah, so this week was massive, and that's why I missed on Tuesday, because I had no internet. I was still trying to finish getting my house ready for to be inspected by the landlord, and I had it's been a brutal week. Thankfully, all the tenant issues in my mom's house are done. All my finally cleaning up my house, even though I got very little help from that from my other roommates, which was always fun. It's like, hey, like I figured like, hey, when you move out of the house, we all kind of pitch in to like, nope,
Nope.
everyone's just doing their own thing. I'm like, oh, so I guess I'm doing this all by myself now. Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just have no life
This
for a
one
week.
time, Danny, you were entitled to an all by yourself song.
All by myself.
I know it's done.
Don't wanna be.
I said it's done.
I was pretty happy with it.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
pretty proud of my accomplishment. What about you, man?
Yep.
How about you?
My week has been interesting. No, like
Did Anna? Hey,
My-
did Anna start working with you?
I haven't gotten. She was told that she would be. That my boss, my supervisor, would contact her this week. He has not contacted her so far.
No.
Then again, her interview was on Friday, so we'll see.
Please.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. So,
Yeah, it would be.
but all the weekend, we did successfully plan our camping trip.
It's about time. Took a while.
So I'm actually pretty pleased with what we got, considering how quickly that was thrown together.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that basically by the end of that day, every site in that campground was taken.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy actually, because we were like just scrambling to try to find something, and then by the end of the conversation, it was like, should we get more spots? Nope, all gone.
No, we can't.
It's like, yep, it's officially no longer possible.
Yeah, we'd have to literally like cancel and then rebook. But when you book with either the national parks or the provincial parks, there is cancellation fees.
Yeah, there is.
Because
So
and they make you pay like right up front. Like they make you
Yep.
pay prior to because usually like when you go to a hotel you like put it on your credit card just so you have it like there.
yeah, that's
But-
an emergency.
Yeah. Now with this it's like no, you pay in advance, and then if you don't show up you still get charged, and if you cancel then you still pay like a $15 cancellation fee for each site.
Yeah, just for fun. Just for
I'm
the
like,
heck
oh
of it.
yeah, just for the heck of it. Yay,
Yeah.
fees.
But we got camping. We're gonna be like cooking
Yep.
it up, camping it up, and farting and burping it up, like whatever
Oh, it's-
you can come up with.
I've
we
been
will
I've been
come up
trying to
with
hype it up to Cade, my coworker, because I'm like, Cade, come with us, join us on our camping trip.
it. Don't worry, man. It is not hard to find people to.
That's true.
To agree to a camping.
Well,
with,
we
especially
still
when that's so
have one more.
convenient.
We still have one spot left.
Go.
So I was hoping. Yeah.
I will find someone, and they will come
Excellent.
and join us. It'll be great.
So hopefully Kevin and Katie can come do. That'd be great.
yeah, it'll be good.
Anyways, let's jump into all the things
Good, man.
related sort of to the weekly satire.
I've been
But
missing that.
before we start this, let's do the levity.
Little levity,
Little levity. So starting off
Oh, I've been getting
Freedom
through to you.
Tunes.
getting food, Steven.
Oh, shush. So public schools according to left-wing satire.
This is actually really fun. Like Seamus is amazing. Have you been
Seamus-
watching Timcast and
The video that he released today, it was very long. It was actually about as long as this one, but it was also very poignant.
it
was like, Why are regular people using public transportation as a way to go from place A to point B? Like,
Yeah.
why do they not realize this is just
completely
unacceptable?
just not okay, unacceptable. Like, what kind of
Like, how do they not realize that this is
How dare
entirely
how dare they
a
all-
large, like, what was it? It was a holding facility for the mentally
Yeah,
deranged.
It's pretty much a transport for the mentally deranged.
Yeah.
You're in the way. Brother.
All right, let's watch this and enjoy.
Have you seen it?
Class, today we're going to continue our lesson on America, God's favorite country that never did nothing wrong.
Not even slavery?
Slavery? He's a communist. Get him!
USA! USA!
America never did nothing bad ever in all the history. Freedom, football, McDonald's.
Okay,
America.
class, today's lesson is on slavery. Tomorrow we'll be learning about the Holocaust. Then on Thursday, how we genocided the Native Americans. And then slavery again on Friday before we start again with the Holocaust next week. Oh, and remember to prepare for next month's standardized slavery test you'll be taking so our school can be nationally ranked on how much you all know about the Holocaust. You'll really want to prepare for that by studying how we killed the Native Americans.
Yes, Miss
Appleton. Great! Now turn to page 873 of the Holocaust Was My Fault textbook. Jimmy, would you like to read?
The face that's on the
Holocaust
book.
was your fault. When the Holocaust happened, it was kind of like that one time when we owned slaves and killed Indians. Do you remember that? You should, because it was your fault. In case you need a refresher, yes, we had slavery and killed Indians. This was similar to the Holocaust in some ways. What was the Holocaust? The Holocaust was your fault. When it happened, it was like that one time when we owned slaves and killed Indians.
It's super silly, but it's so true.
It's so true. This is what they do. They basically This is why the Florida thing. They're like they're banning books. Like no, they're just not
No.
allowing you. Or they say like, oh, you're not teaching Black history. I'm like, no, they are actually teaching Black history.
Yep.
They're just not teaching like hyper.
They're just not teaching CRT.
CRT basically.
And they're like, but they should be teaching CRT. And I'm like, I think
No.
the normal talking point of the left was that they're not teaching CRT.
It's
And this
well,
person's like, well, like the ones that are, should continue teaching it because it must be taught. And I'm like, there's
Like-
the next step.
well, we are doing it, but like we're not doing it. But if we were, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Oh my gosh, I actually told that to, because I was with Cade today.
Okay.
And he's like, so is Bernie Sanders a socialist? And I'm like, yeah, he's a socialist.
Yeah, he's super socialist.
And he's like, okay, like, didn't he say something was a good thing? And I'm like, yes, he said bread lines were a good thing. And so I went out, like, broke out my Bernie Sanders voice. Why are people saying that bread lines are a bad thing? They're a good thing.
They're a good thing.
And he's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, by the way, but fast forward to like their like Pledge of Allegiance, like version.
Oh,
or something like
yes.
that was pretty good. Because the kid basically is just forced to repeat the exact same line over and over.
I
And
am oh so sorry for causing slavery and killing Indians. We vote Republican. They kill Jews and hunt blacks and give out smallpox. Slaves kill the Jews and we bombed Nagasaki. For good. Did we mention the slaves?
Did anything else happen in history besides slavery, the Holocaust, and Native Americans being killed?
Not that
No.
I know of.
Oh,
Not that- yeah.
because if other things did happen, maybe we could try learning about those instead of repeating the same lesson about racism 30 times until we graduate?
Ugh, right-wingers. Always trying to stop us from teaching history.
Yep.
100%.
So freaking true. My gosh.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, it's amazing. Like it sounds like it's too silly. To
it's
be
out.
true,
Yeah, but it's not.
but it's not. It is not.
Yeah.
That is what they do in schools
something
nowadays.
that is too silly to be true, but only by a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yes?
Before you move on, just because it's relevant.
Yeah.
I heard like today. There's a Facebook group called holding MLA accountable. Anyways, one of the people on there said that their kid came home, and they were like apparently acting really weird and like being super mad because they basically were like indoctrinated by their teacher, and basically their teacher convinced this child, like a 10-year-old kid, that if you don't vote for the NDP, you're basically like the most horrible person imaginable. You want sick people to die, and like all this other nonsense. And I'm like, yeah, it's actually happening even here, even in Alberta. You're basically having teachers indoctrinating children, basically telling them that if you vote for UCP, you're worse than Hitler. It's like, congratulations, you guys are complete and total like snake oil salesmen.
Oh, like did you? I went over it on Tuesday, but there was one person, and it was just like, I'm like, do you know what a fascist is? Yes, I've been talking with one. I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, is Danielle Smith a fascist? And she's like, yes. I'm like, okay, like, what justification do you have for saying that? because Danielle Smith was spreading misinformation. And I'm like,
That's not the definition of
that's
fascism.
not the definition of fascism. And she's like, it doesn't matter if that's not your definition of fascism. It's how fascism works. And she posted this video, which was basically like, fascism is when a charismatic leader gets elected to power because they say that everything is wrong in society is because of, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's literally what politics is.
I mean, that's pretty much, yeah, like, oh my gosh, like, everyone qualifies as fascist. Like, in that, this is what you have to deal with online. People are just, like, they're literally, like, reinforcing, like, stupidity. It's pretty crazy. Critical thinking is difficult to do for people. This is why when people say that, like, you know, like when people call me like I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm usually like, oh, thank you, like, thank you. I appreciate you calling me a critical thinker.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty much what a conspiracy theorist like. When they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist, they're literally saying you're thinking critically, and we need to call you crazy. So we're gonna come up with a label to basically imply that you're crazy. But in reality, you're just a smart. You think.
You actually think for more than 2 seconds, yes.
So next time somebody calls you conspiracy theorist, be like, thank you. I do think critically.
Yeah, but you actually do have to think critically to separate AOC's parody account from her real one.
It's like not much difference.
So the pin tweets, printing money is the only way out of inflation. It's almost something that AOC would say, but not quite.
Yep, it's pretty close. I mean,
she
said some dumb things. She's the one who created or wrote or
the Green New Deal.
The Green New Deal, which people said like may as well have been written in crayons.
Yeah, well, and it talks about cow farts, and so this
it did.
And so this account it tweets about cow farts. Cow farts should be caught in pickle jars and disposed as nuclear waste.
It's very important. You gotta like, you know, bury that CO2. That's terrible.
Yeah. So some other prominent ones. People say I'm thin-skinned for wanting to shut down the parody account. Making fun of me. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm not thin-skinned. I'm not thin-skinned. I'm not thin-skinned.
Oh, it's so good.
We should have 14,768 separate Pride days. One day for each gender.
Math is hard, Steven. Math is hard.
And then one of my favorites, I'm calling on Elon Musk to permanently suspend the AOC Prosperity account. Making fun of someone as importantly as me should never be allowed in a free society. Sorry, I was gone for 6 hours trying to figure out how to use the garbage disposal.
I mean, this is like very well done.
Oh yeah,
humor. It's so good.
It's funny and it's quirky and it's totally something. Some things you're like, you know, if she had a little bit too much to drink, I could see AOC writing that.
Yep,
I definitely could.
Yep. I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking we should do? We should start calling her, instead of AOC, we should start calling her AOX. Because she's always trying to call Latinx, and like Mexicans and Latinos do not want to be called Latinx. So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna start calling you AOX from now on. You're Latinx. AOX.
Yep.
Bring it on, bro.
Yes. All right, but now we'll move on to the actual This Week in Satire.
Bring it.
Corporations paint rainbows on doorposts so woke gangs will pass them by. Yes, the rainbow.
That'll work.
Per tradition, fabulous rainbows promoting sexual deviance are being painted on the doorposts of office buildings and storefronts as corporations race to appease the woke gangs as they hope to pass them by. It gets a little crazy this time of year, said Walmart CEO Martin Wall, but if we do this, the woke gangs will ignore our terrible employee satisfaction and low wages. Please have mercy on us, LGBTQ plus community. Gay spokesman Neil Patrick Harris told businesses this month, "When we see the rainbow over your door, we will overlook your past inequity and pass you by. We mean business. Remember Sears? Of course you don't." Drag queen spokes RuPaul also echoed the sentiments of the gay community, warning that there will be such a cry in the U.S. such has never been heard before and such will never be heard again until next year. Publishing time, the corporations had been spared the wrath of the woke gangs only to be looted by BLM gangs.
I mean, they kind of like, you know.
You know, like you can't escape the gangs.
It's basically like, you know, roving bands of barbarians. They're the new Vikings. You
Mm.
know, they just come into your area and they just loot and steal your women and whatever those are, and they
Whatever
just
those are.
cause,
Well done.
cause all
Well
sorts
done.
of like problems and all that. So it's like it's pretty terrible out there.
Oh yeah.
But yes, this is the
Hide your
thing.
kids.
During the yeah, pretty much put them in the basement, like like until the storm passes. Kids do not make a sound. Um, but like this is what stores had to do. They had to basically like board up their windows, and they put like signs up, like saying they support BLM or support like LGBT, because otherwise they know that they'll be targeted. It's crazy. Even if they don't believe it, they would still do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unbelievable what the kind of stuff that they like to pull on regular people. The problem is right now is that the LGBT movement is by far the most powerful force right now in society, and it's becoming so incredibly dangerous to speak out against it that that like you basically can't do it anymore without like major societal like like consequences and like and punishments of all kinds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which and that's something I wanted to point out today in a rant of the week. We're going to talk about something that I came across this morning, and I was like, "Huh, isn't that interesting? How this is so well related to something that happened this week." So, yeah, whenever you're ready, Stephen, bring it
Yeah.
on, and I'll introduce us to the topic of the day.
Let's go indeed. Alrighty. So wait, no, that's over there. And stories. Rents.
Set 'em up
And
and all this delay.
shh, quiet. Quiet, you. Alright, go.
All right, so so this morning, like I normally do the like regular devotions in the morning, but something I found really interesting in my morning devotions is the fact that today is apparently the day that in Catholic the Catholic Church has like basically every day of the year commemorates or memorializes one specific person that's a very famous Christian saint or whatever, like somebody very famous. And today's day was the commemoration of Justin Martyr. We don't actually know what his last name was, but he's called Justin Martyr because he was actually killed for his faith. But for anybody who doesn't know, Justin Martyr is basically he was kind of like a wandering kind of like intellectual who eventually was walking on the beach one day, met this old hermit, and basically the hermit told him like well, if you're trying to find like the answers in all these like Greek philosophies and the Roman pantheon and all that, like you'll never find it there. You got to find it in Jesus. And so he became basically one of the smartest people in the I think it's the 2nd century. He became one of the leading defenders of the faith. His story is interesting because the way that he died is that he basically had a debate with a very famous Roman I forget his name, but a Roman academic, and he embarrassed him so badly. He basically owned him, like he owned the libs. And this guy was so pissed off at having lost to this to this upstart, uppity like Christian, that he basically reported them to the authorities, and he was executed for, get this, atheism. Why was he executed for atheism? Because in those days, in the Roman era, not believing in the Roman gods is akin to basically, in their view, to practicing atheism. So you're not allowed to not acknowledge, and definitely you're not allowed to not celebrate their gods. Now, I found that really interesting for 2 reasons. One, because today, June 1st, happens to be the first day of Gay Pride Month, like the holiest day in the LGBT calendar. But like they celebrate like so many more, but this is the big month, right? So interesting, like how that just happens to be the case. But the second thing that I found most interesting is that back in those days when Christians were pretty much open game for persecution and for like being like hit, back in those days, Christians were punished for not affirming and not celebrating, and definitely for not believing in the religion of the day, and they were like punished heavily. And that I found very interesting because in today's news, or like in the last day or two, we had that exact same situation with a Blue Jays pitcher named Anthony Bass. And he basically was put in a similar situation where he has to basically affirm the modern day gods, which is like the LGBT gods, like the religion, or else he's going to face a terrible punishment. Justin Martyr's punishment was, you affirm our gods or we kill you. Today is like, you affirm our woke religion or you're gonna get punished. So keep that in mind when we go through the story from the BBC story about Anthony Bass, and think about like who really had a much more difficult decision to make. Death, loss of job. It's tough. But take us into the story, Stephen, whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. All right, so starting off with a story from CBC. Blue Jays pitcher Anthony Bass apologizes for sharing posts supporting anti-LGBTQ boycotts.
Yeah. So this is wrong thing, Stephen. Wrong thing. There you.
I am truly sorry, said relief pitcher Anthony Bass. The ballpark is for everybody.
Ugh. Except for Christians, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about one of the next stories because it's actually funny in regards to that. So on Monday, Anthony Bass, a relief pitcher with the Jays, shared an Instagram reel from the account Dude with Good News. Yeah, sounds like an account that we would get along with.
We'd probably get along with it,
yep.
Yeah.
That called on Christians to avoid these brands. The original clip says, here's the reason biblically why I believe Christians have got to be boycotting Target, Bud Light, and any other corporation that's pushing the things they're pushing. I think a lot of people make this into a political issue, and they say, oh, what's the big deal? Clip later says, this is evil, this is demonic, we won't stand for it. We're not going to go to the stores anymore, and we're not going to give you our money. Target recently said it was removing some LGBTQ merchandise from its stores in the U.S. and moving its Pride merchandise to the back in some stores in some southern states, following confrontations and backlash from some stoppers in the area.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of those are very suspect. Like, we don't have any actual like evidence that those even happen. But yeah.
So of course, Bud Light, the subject calls for boycott after it partnered with Dylan Mulvaney. On Tuesday afternoon, Bass apologized for his hurtful post. Watch, and this is his apology, and it was to say that this would be a Maoist struggle session would be it's a broken man in a Maoist struggle session.
Yeah.
I recognized yesterday I made a post that was hurtful to the Pride community, which includes friends of mine, close family members of mine, and I'm truly sorry for that. I just spoke with my teammates and shared with them my actions yesterday. I apologized with them. And as of right now, I'm using the Blue Jays resources to better educate myself, to make better decisions moving forward. The ballpark is for everybody. We include all fans at the ballpark, and we want to welcome everybody. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yep. That's not a scripted statement whatsoever.
Oh, by the way, a lot of people were like, they're discussing this on Timcast. They're like, is he a true Christian? That was the ultimate question that came up, because like he basically, he was basically like, okay, is there, can you actually like, have that position and be a true Christian? Absolutely. Because
yes.
what is the boycott? Okay, let's just like talk about what is the Bud Light boycott. The Bud Light boycott is opposing something that is biblically undefensible, indefensible. You cannot be a Christian and argue that men and women are interchangeable and that God makes mistakes. That just is not possible. And the fact that and then secondly, the Target boycott has to do with targeting children with completely inappropriate, sexually charged, things that really should not be done to kids. That is very defensible as a position. Now the real question is, what are the consequences that he was facing? So one thing I heard some people mentioning, they're like, well, okay, what's really at stake? Is he just gonna lose his job, Is that the real punishment that he could face? Because I mean, like, would you, if you were faced with like like say this prepared statement and apologize for being for a horrible person, or lose your job, what would you do? Like for me, I know I'd lose my job.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not basically going to lie and kiss the feet of this like terrible like woke religion in order to save my hide. That is not a proper Christian approach. But some people suggested there's a possibility that maybe he was actually facing a human rights a full on human rights accusation. And in Canada, the human rights legislation may actually result in jail time or potentially some very hefty fines.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying, like, yeah, there's a possibility. Maybe he was facing that. Now, either way, the reason why that's relatable to like what happened to Justin Martyr is like Justin Martyr was facing death, and too many modern Christians are not willing to take even the most basic stand when it comes to these kind of issues. They just want to like fly under the radar and be as non-offensive as possible. But to be fair, like, this is what's going on: is you are not allowed in any way to oppose the modern day religion. And in this case, this religion is the woke ideology of LGBT, pride, rainbow, everything, right? You cannot oppose it. Now, let's Stephen, let's talk about that next story to show that I'm not just making this up. That it's not enough. It's not enough to everyone has their own opinions. You literally are not allowed to oppose it. You literally are not allowed to oppose it.
So, quote, the trustees hurt those students. PFLAG York Region President.
You have to put it on the screen, Stephen.
Sorry.
You can't see it. Yeah.
I apologize.
No worries, yeah. I'm watching you.
Yeah. Region President urges Catholic School Administration to fly Pride Flag in act of defiance to board. So the trustees vote down motion to raise Progress Pride Flag at Catholic Education Center in Aurora. And the colors of the Progress Pride Flag will be seen outside the administration building of the York Catholic School District Board this June after trustees voted down a motion to raise the symbol at its May 29th meeting. As a result, the PFLAG York region is urging the administration and Catholic schools across the region raise the flag alongside the Canadian flag in an act of defiance. As the Charter of Rights and Freedoms protected the trustees at the meeting with their perspective, it also protects acts of protest and freedom of thought. Tristan Kuhlman, president of PFLAG York Region, said in a statement, 4 trustees, Elizabeth Crow, Jennifer Wigston, Carol Cotton, and Angela Grella, voting in favor of the motion was not enough for the rainbow flag to be unfurled. And, of course, these are the ones that voted against it. So these are the good ones, these are the bad ones.
The good ones, yeah, you can tell. That's pretty obvious right there.
Yeah, those trustees had said they'd done some learning. They said that they had prayed about it, they had listened and read those letters, but it was evident that something just didn't get through and permeate that actions.
Yeah, because to them, it's not enough. There's no acceptable conclusion that doesn't say, give us everything we want. Essentially, they will never take no for an answer. And this story was brutal. When you hear the story, the details of it, like, all they said was like, we're not gonna be political. We're just gonna fly the Canadian flag.
Yeah.
And then they're like, nope. You have to basically fly our flag, or else you're creating and of course, here comes the gaslighting language. You're creating an unsafe environment. You're being exclusive. You're causing harm. You're causing violence. All this kind of stuff. It's you're not allowed to defy the new religion. And that's why Canada, particularly, is becoming a very scary place. Because, let's face it, in the past you'd be like, I'm just gonna stay out of this. I don't want to get political. Now it's not enough. You literally have to, applaud. You can't just kind of stay silent anymore. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's happening right now. Stephen, any thoughts on this event and the school?
Oh no, I'm just trying to find. Because there was a video of them debating this in the legislature in Ontario.
Oh, they were actually debating this thing?
They're like, what should be done about this? It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing should be done about this.
Yeah, it's one thing I thought about like recently, is that it's interesting that the thing that they use as the symbol for their movement, okay, obviously the rainbow. We all know that they basically appropriated like a Christian symbol, which is like the rainbow being a promise that God's not going to judge the world again or destroy the world again by a flood, and they basically took it as almost like a middle finger to God and to religion, and so like F you, we're gonna use it for our own thing. But more importantly, something else I thought of is that it's a flag, because think about it, in war, in military history, I always found it interesting. In military history, whenever somebody takes like a hill, or whenever somebody takes an island, or whenever like an army basically takes over something, as a sign that they've conquered this area, this land, this hill, this region, they put up the flag. One of the most iconic symbols in American history is the flag, the American flag being raised by those kind of 4 soldiers in the Pacific War, and them all raising this flag. That flag was basically being put up to show that we have conquered this area, and this is now under the control and the authority of the American nation. Essentially, that's what the meaning of that is. So the fact that the LGBT, the rainbow crowd, uses a flag as their symbol is important, because it basically shows it's like we have to demonstrate that we have conquered this space. That's why it's required that you have to fly the flag everywhere, because if you don't fly the flag, or you don't put the flag up in your space, then you are being you're not showing fealty to the woke mob, to the new religion that you have to. And they're slowly working their way through all of the institutions, trying to capture them and try to conquer them. And so this place not flying the flag was basically them saying, we don't have complete and 100% approval, and and we will not bow 100% to this movement. And then that's when they use all of their tactics. And these are all communist Marxist tactics that they've used and are they're taught, and they've learned from a very early age to do that.
Yep. Oh, just a quick thing from Conquer Room. I read an article about the Chosen, there being a Progress Pride flag on the set of the Chosen. I think the article that they basically had the defense that you don't need to have a Christian cast to make a Christian show.
I've heard that, yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like, it's still not great, not a good side.
It's from what I've heard about the show is that most of the because I heard an interview with Dallas, I forget the guy's name, but the guy, the creator of the show and the director, he said that a lot of the cast are not Christians.
Yes,
and they are a lot of them are getting exposed to the Christian message by being there, generally. So there's some of them are atheists, some of them are agnostics, some of them are Catholic, some of them are Protestant, some of them are they're from different backgrounds and all that. So I'm not surprised that you would see something like that on the set. I would be very shocked if Dallas, the creator, actually endorses it. That would be the thing. I'm like, yeah, I don't think he'd endorse it, and I don't know if he actually makes it part of a big part of the show. But yeah, I need more information to be able to really determine whether or not that's a deal breaker or not for the Chosen.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen the Chosen. I of course no.
What is wrong with you? Hand over your Christian card right now. You're out of the club. You are out of the club.
Oh
my goodness, man!
This is like a level of shaming which I was not expecting.
It is a very good show. I'm shocked that you haven't seen it. Wow.
Oh,
You're just gonna have to catch up. Everyone, feel free to admonish him for not watching the greatest, television series about Christianity in the last 2 decades.
Okay. Or you
Yeah.
could always just defend me from the perspective that it was written by Mormons.
Written by Mormons?
Yes.
What are you talking about? Okay. Anyways, this is gonna turn into a whole.
Admonishing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's been
feel-
it's been a good show. It's been a really good show.
It's been a good show. Oh, are you talking about?
not-
Okay, you're talking about the show. Is it not because it's a good show because Conqueror is admonishing me?
Yeah. No. I would have told you that straight up. The show itself is it's a solid Christian show. So,
I've heard
anyways,
that it's pretty good. Yeah.
it's so funny.
Okay,
Anyways.
so thankfully there is one aspect of this which is good.
Mhm.
All of the above. So there is one aspect of MLB which has been pretty good. So MLB players say drag troop invited. Yeah. So Dodgers Pride Night mocks Christianity, which is totally true. See, NBC
That's
is just
totally
like,
factual.
this
Yeah.
is what they say. It's like, no, it's true. So the Cy Young Award winner Clayton Kershaw and Washington Nationals pitcher Trevor Williams tore into Kershaw's LA Dodgers for scheduling a Pride Night event that will include a popular satirical drag troupe. It's called Outright Mocking and trying to make them look bad. The Dodgers this month rescinded their invitation to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence for the team's annual LGBTQ Pride Parade before they did a second 180 and re-invited the decades-old charitable group of performers
Of course, they're
who
charitable.
describe themselves as a leading-edge order of queer and trans nuns. But rather than be put to the dispute to bed, the Dodgers' invitation, rejection, and re-engagement with the Sisters apparently has sparked anger in two high-profile players who believe the group is anti-Catholic because it is.
By the way, here's how it works. What happens is the lunatics, like the lunatic left, they do something crazy, and then the second somebody comes out and says yeah, I don't agree with that, then they're like, oh, this person's creating controversy. Oh, look at the controversy that they're stirring up. It's basically like anybody says anybody else see something wrong with this? Oh, that person's causing controversy. We saw it in the NHL. They were doing this with the Pride Nights at all these NHL teams and all that. And you would have a player that would say yeah, no, I don't want to participate in that. It goes against my faith. And in that case, it was even more legit because that's an actual religious exemption kind of cause, not even an actual criticism. But they're like, oh, this person, it's all his fault. He's the controversial one. He's the mean one. It's amazing, right? You are not allowed to either to have your own opinion, for sure, but you're definitely not allowed to abstain and or to not to cheer. It's we're getting into a dangerous area here where you have to applaud. It's like it's like that thing with Stalin where the first person to stop applauding was the one sent to the gulags. You remember that story, Steve?
Oh yeah, I do. From the Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
What
So,
are your thoughts
quote,
on this story?
as a devout Catholic, I am deeply troubled by the Dodgers' decision to reinvite and honor the group of Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence at the Pride Night this year. Williams said in a statement Tuesday, to invite and honor a group that makes a blatant and deeply offensive mockery of my religion, the religion of over 4 million people in LA alone, undermines the values of respect and inclusivity that should be upheld by any organization. Last week, at the behest of Kershaw, the Dodgers hastily rescheduled a Christian Faith and Family Day at Dodger Stadium on July 30th. It was regularly held at Dodger Stadium, with Kershaw as the primary organizer through 2019. It hadn't been held since the pandemic, and Kershaw said he's set on relaunching it this year, speeding up the planning once the team went forward with a Pride Night with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So, I think this is just yes, we're going to invite the group that openly mocks the Christians, but we'll give you this as a condolence prize to have your Christian Faith and Family Night back.
Well,
after
it's
we
kinda-
openly mock you.
It's basically what the Bud Light and
What did with their
doing.
horse and American flag? Yeah.
Oh, and they're camo cans and their Harley Davidson cans. They basically try to be like, well, we're gonna throw you a bone and you'll love
Hope
us
that you
again.
lap it up.
Yeah, please, you're dumb. You'll just accept our little apology and all that. By the way, good news. Bud Light is officially no longer the
Yes.
best-selling beer brand in America anymore.
Mhm.
Like, yes, victory,
But
victory.
that does still belong to Anheuser-Busch.
I know, but
Minor goals.
but no, minor. Like this has been like probably
Oh,
the most successful
I
boycott
understand
ever.
that like the boycott against Target, the boycott against Bud Light has been monumentally effective. I think combined, what have they lost? $30 billion in the past
like
2 months.
Target was like, well, where they at? Like 18, like or like a giant amount of like you know like of loss, like billions
Yes.
and billions. Yeah.
And yet they still continue it, and of course other corporations just keep on bringing it on.
Mhm.
And now, of course, like I was repeating what Mash Walsh was saying, the Pride Progress flag and anything to do with the modern Pride movement should be interpreted as toxic by corporations.
Well, it's interesting too because, what was it? One of the things about the cultural capture is that this is a very aggressive movement, right? They basically they there's a contradiction in terms in the like you remember how we talked how we saw in that Freedom Tunes cartoon. One of the things they teach in schools is that what's a real what's one of the major reasons why white people are bad? Oh, colonialism, imperialism. Oh, those bad white people, they went out everywhere and they colonized the new world. They stole land from the Native Americans. And like, oh, they colonized South America. And oh, they colonized Africa. And oh, they did their imperial takeovers of all these kind of things. And it's like, guess what? You're doing the exact same thing you're accusing us of doing, even though we had nothing to do with the colonial like period. But you're like, oh, you're just doing colonialism on a very different scale, but you're doing the exact same thing. Congratulations. Because in their view, there is no such thing as a dissenting opinion. There is, we're right, we have the power, and we hurt you if you don't listen to us. But by the way, we're still the victims. You know, as we beat you with our big giant stick, we're like, but you're victimizing us because we got like you got a splatter of blood on you. You're like, oh, I'm the victim. Look, you got my shirt like covered in blood, right? That's basically like the LGBT approach. It's like they're always the victims, and yet they're the ones causing pretty much almost all of the damage and the harm and that like basically cultural terrorism. Like I know that people like throw that term around, but they are basically cultural terrorists. And what happened to that baseball player was basically a struggle session, like Steven said. But it's also the fact that in this one, it's like, okay, they have to choose between one or the other. Are they going to support their Christian fan base, or are they going to support? Well, obviously, they're going to support the LGBT group that is clearly doing something wrong because they're like obviously doing mockery. They're not
Yeah.
just they're not just being gay. They're not just being drag queens. Now they're like explicitly making a completely insulting portrayal of the Catholics. But no, it's okay because they get to do whatever they want. Yeah, so it's really getting out of hand. But yeah, just remember, this is the new world that we live in now. We live in a world where this is the new religion, and nobody is allowed to insult it. So like everything to do, everyone who dissents is guilty of blasphemy. And of course, they call blasphemy a bunch of little things. They call it unsafe. They call it bigoted. They call it homophobia. Like these are just fancy words for blasphemy, because you are not allowed. You're not allowed to disagree with them in any way, shape, or form. Stephen, any thoughts?
No, it's definitely true. There's no way that, like, even like nowadays, of course, it's much worse.
Oh yeah.
In 2016, I was removed from a job that I had because somebody got very, very upset that I commented on Facebook because there was a picture, I think it was by like TD Bank or something. And there's a picture of two guys holding hands. And it's like, oh, we celebrate Pride Month. And I'm like, can we not have this like shoved down our faces for maybe like a whole day? Like, can we have one day free of this? And then, yeah, that was enough to get me fired.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I'm like, that was enough to get me fired in 2016. That is insane. And of course, the levels that you see now, it's like, oh yes, I'm supporting the boycott against Target. It's like, well, what did Target do? Oh yeah, they had tuck garments,
which are medically,
also advertised for children.
Medically damaging.
Yeah,
like
and
things.
development. Yeah, all of this, and then it's like, oh no, we can't do that because that's anti-trans. It's like, well, but it's right. So that's what a lot of people forget, and it's like they're so afraid of being called out by kind of the woke mob. Of being called out by those who are the low information voters, those who still listen to the mainstream media, those who still listen to kind of the celebrity impressions. We have to stop caring what these people think. Like, I have great respect.
People have to grow a backbone.
Yeah, people have to grow a backbone. I have great respect for the Washington Nationals picture and for the pitcher of the LA Dodgers for speaking up. I know that people are going to hate them for it.
Oh, absolutely.
I know that they're going to be like, oh, why aren't you supporting drag queens? Like, seriously. But if the Blue Jays pitcher, instead of actually caving to this, if there were articles about, oh, like the Blue Jays pitcher refuses to apologize after this, like, guess what? Baseball jerseys aren't that expensive. Probably my first baseball jersey that I'd ever wear. Just because this, like, we have to show support to those who actually stand by their convictions. I was very glad that one of my heroes in the past 15 years, we talked about this a while back, that James Reimer's jersey basically sold out. Or if it didn't sell out, it was selling for like $600 online.
Yeah.
Because the demand for his jerseys, whether past or present, was exceptionally high.
Yeah.
We want these people to be the ones that the children grow up and look up to, because they are examples in our modern society of people who have stood up to the woke mob, who stood up to those who seek to silence, to oppress, to kill and destroy them. And they have said, no, I will face whatever comes and I will do whatever it takes because this is what I stand by and this is what I believe. And that comes first.
Yeah. We need a lot more brave.
A lot more brave people.
Yeah. Because unfortunately the problem is that too many people, it's not so much that we have too many evil people, it's that we have too many weak people. And that's one of the things that leads to the societal breakdown that we're seeing. People are too willing to completely and totally fudge on their morals or on their values, just in order to get the carrot that they're offering you. So yeah, I encourage you. This is by the way, this is coming. We're returning back to the era of once again, like what happened to Justin Martyr. We're going back to that era because we're going to go back to a place where you are going to be like put on the spot and say, do you accept and do you honor our religion, or are you going to face the gulag, or are you going to face the execution chamber or something like that? And you're going to have to make a decision now. Are you going to save your hide and just lie and just pretend you're going along with it and say nothing, which is, believe it or not, it's a defeat. That in the Marxist system, anybody who doesn't speak, they've been demoralized. And that's the same thing as a horse that was broken and that basically has lost the will to fight it all. And they like that. Or the other people are the ones who are the rebels, the ones who are actually speaking out. And that to them is more dangerous than anything else. So they will try to shut you up.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready. This is coming. It's getting worse, and it's going to come more aggressively. So
all right, let's
be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared. Let's move on to Big Brother, Where Art Thou? All right, so from Outkick. Twitter to censor Barry Daily Wire doc, What is a Woman? Update, Elon Musk responded to the Daily Wire saying people at Twitter were wrong to revoke the day. Musk says What is a Woman is allowed as originally planned. Well, unfortunately, that's not truly the case, Elon, and we'll address that in just a minute. So, from Jerry Boring, Twitter canceled a deal with Real Daily Wire to premiere What is a Woman for free on its platform for 2 instances of misgendering. Can't get rid of this stupid ad in the corner just yet. I'm not kidding, here's what happened. And of course, response by Elon, this was a mistake by people at Twitter. It is definitely allowed. Whether or not you agree with someone's using preferred pronouns, not doing so is at most rude and certainly breaks no laws. So they reached a deal to stream the culturally influential documentary What is a Woman? It's a great flick. I've seen it probably 3 times by now, in which Matt Walsh questions the logic behind gender ideology. Twitter offered the company a package to stream the doc in a dedicated event page and promote it to every Twitter user for the first 10 hours. But according to the Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring, Twitter revoked its offer and vowed to throttle the documentary over a violation of misgendering. Let's see if it's still being throttled. I'm going to refresh the page just to show you in real time what's going on. So, of course, this is the real Twitter page from the Daily Wire, and it's still visibility limited. So, what's going on, Twitter? Come on, Elon. Crack down. As I said earlier on the show, hashtags make layoffs great again. Can't be allowing this crap, Elon.
Yeah, it's true because like the idea, okay, so people have a very weird, and like like a lot of people like Tim Pool's talked about it, Steven Crowder like talked about it a lot. A lot of people like talked about the idea that if you create something, a category called hate speech, then you no longer have free speech. Free speech is not, you can't have like free speech when you're putting restrictions on it, because the whole point is that you have either you have free speech or you don't. Either you have like the ability to speak or you don't. And the problem here is that Twitter is going back to their ways that the very thing that they did before. Remember, like when Tim Pool came on Joe Rogan with Jack Dorsey and that crazy lady who eventually got fired by Elon. Like, they had this whole conversation. They're like, you're choosing to basically like punish people who are not using pronouns. It's like, oh yeah, it's because but the very fact that you're doing that means that there are 2 factions. One faction believes that pronouns are true and everyone has to use the pronouns given. The other faction, which is the conservative faction, says no, that pronouns are denying reality. And they're basically lying to people, and so we don't support the use of them. And they basically they picked a side. With Twitter doing this, they've basically gone back to the very same position that they had before in that infamous kind of conversation with on Joe Rogan, that they've chosen once again to basically pick a side and say like, well, we believe one side, and we're going to punish the other side for not playing along. Right? Because this is a belief system. It comes down to one thing. Do you believe that that a man can become a woman just by saying it? The answer is yes, or the answer is no. Okay? If you say yes, then you're part of the left. If you say no, then you're part of the conservative side, and you disagree with the whole statement or the belief system. Twitter is basically saying, we believe, and we're taking the side of the left, of the lunatic left, and anybody who does not comply with this idea, like what's his name? Elon Musk basically said that, oh, it's about being rude or being polite. I'm like, no, it's not. Fundamental, like, yeah, I know they'll accuse you of being rude because you didn't do what they asked, but this is basically like it's extortion. Do what I demand, even if you don't believe it, or else.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. It's crazy.
All right.
Steven, what you got, Steven?
No, so just a brief kind of continuation. So they had reached an agreement with Twitter to showcase the film. They sent it to Twitter, and Twitter said, oh my gosh, we can't misgender people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even instances of Matt Walsh misgendering people. It was the people that they were interviewing misgendering people. Yeah. And so this is a clear example of people who are in middle management who want to try and stifle things that they don't like. And I'm hoping that this is the last hurrah of what the remnants of the woke Twitter mob are.
Mm-hmm.
But given the recent CEO that Elon has hired, I'm a little concerned about.
I think a lot of people are concerned after this move.
So it'll either go in the direction of we're going to completely abandon this, and we're going to start moving towards going back to what Twitter was, which was more censorship, more oppression, and more explicitly focusing on promoting left-wing content. If you have actually been on Twitter lately and you've been going through your homepage, I will go through my homepage on Twitter, and I will have random accounts that I do not follow that are promoting left-wing values just showing up without me looking them up.
Yeah, because they're trying to push it on you.
And like before the Alberta election, it was Danielle Smith is the worst. This is how conservatives are fat. Like it just went over and over and over again about promoting left-wing ideology. So Elon, you got to crack down on this. Make layoffs great again. You got to go through and find actual either find employees that are not willing to exercise their political ideology in terms of their work.
Yeah.
Or you find people who are willing to stick up to what you want Twitter to be, which is a free speech platform. So you got to do something. You got to do it fast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to start to see the next Twexit.
Yeah, it's getting bad out there because like people were really excited. I mean, Tucker.
About going to Twitter and putting a show on Twitter. But if this is going the wrong way, it's
Danny,
not good. Did I lose it?
Your video changed.
Oh, hold on. I can fix this.
And then I think your mic changed as well.
Hold on.
Okay, now it's back. So, go.
Good?
Yeah, I think we are good. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there. It was odd. But, oh well. Hope it doesn't happen again.
Let's hope so.
So, now we can, let's quickly move on. We have been going on for quite some time. So let's go to the news you may have missed to talk about the news that you may have missed. And I have been bad. Rolling Stone. Project Veritas sues founder James O'Keefe, accusing him of wooing donors for rival company. Alleges that O'Keefe reached out to donors on a confidential list while still on the company payroll. So they filed a lawsuit Wednesday against its founder, alleging he bullied staff and violated his employee agreements by establishing a rival organization while still on Project Veritas payroll. Being known as the founder of an organization does not entitle that person to run amok and put their own interests ahead of the organization. According to the lawsuit, their board of directors placed Keefe on paid leave following accusations the founder behaved unprofessionally. And I believe his countersuit, or at least how his lawyers are responding, which they don't post here, his lawyers are responding that he is not on paid leave, that he has been fired, and he is asserting, as he did on Timcast yesterday, that he has not been continually paid by Project Veritas, and so he is not on their payroll, and so if he has been terminated, then he is no longer under contract.
It's really simple. He left. They're now realizing that they can't make this company operate without him.
So they need to milk him.
They're trying to
cash
milk
cow
him
they view
more
him
money.
as.
Exactly. So this is totally a hit job on James O'Keefe.
Well, and
There's nothing new for
it
him.
signifies the end of the company.
It does.
Project Veritas is officially dead with this.
They're completely dead, and they're trying to basically they're like a body trying to go underwater and grasping
and drag him,
hoping that they can drag him with them. Exactly.
Right.
So all right. Next story from the National Post: Lululemon faces backlash after firing employees who intervened in store robbery caught on video. The hashtag boycott Lululemon has gained steam on Twitter. Holy cow, it's like a boycott season, eh?
Yeah.
Has gained steam on Twitter, with users writing that they are canceling the brand. Apparently I don't actually have the ability to read this because this is like one of those
it's
articles. Yeah,
really?
I'm behind a paywall on this one.
Oh,
Can't read this.
Yeah, I can read it. Okay,
I guess you
I'll
can.
read it.
Yeah, maybe-
So Lululemon is latest coming to find itself in the crosshairs of social media fueled boycott after 2 more former employees said they were fired for reporting a robbery to the police. So it occurred in Georgia, and boycott Lululemon was gaining steam on Twitter. In a statement to 11 Alive, Lululemon said the employees were not fired for reporting the robbery to police, but were terminated for knowingly violating our zero tolerance policy relating to physically engaging with perpetrators, which put their lives and the safety of our guests and other employees at risk.
Sure, it did.
Yeah, let's watch the video and see how much they interact with these people. Just double checking. Yeah, I'm good.
You can march back out. No, you can march.
Yeah.
No, you can march.
Why is it like
No, seriously. Get out. Get out.
Yeah. Their altercation is getting up in their faces and filming them.
Their car.
So they can, and trying to like get some semblance of their identities.
Yep.
That's the physical altercation.
I know, but I don't want.
Like, they're not trying to grab them, they're not trying to stop them. All they're trying to do is provide more evidence to the police so they can identify them. And for that, Lululemon fired them.
But Steven, they're racist.
Oh,
Because
it's
they're
the bike
poor
Karen all
innocent
over again.
victims. These victim, these poor victim, like black people, they're trying to just feed their families, and they're just trying to survive and get bread, Steven. That's really what's going on.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
big.
You've heard about this whole like bike Karen thing?
I've watched the whole thing. It was terrible. It's just
so stupid. So if you haven't heard about this bike Karen thing, it's a video of this woman, and she rented a bike, and then these 5 black guys try and steal it from her, and then they start filming it, and then she's like, "Please stop taking my bike," and they're like, "No, it's our bike, it's our bike, it's our bike," and she's like, "No, it's mine. Like, I paid for it. I rented it for this time," and they're claiming that she's a liar. And then she's calling out for help because she's getting overpowered by 5 like black young adult men.
Yeah.
And then she got fired from her job. And she
put on leave pending an investigation. Did she get fired eventually?
According to Brett Cooper, she has been officially fired.
Okay, I didn't hear.
And then she was forced to flee her home.
Of course she was.
Because there were protesters outside her door because somebody involved who saw the video released her address to the public. And then there were multiple death threats mailed to her house. And then she's now, of course, released the information saying that it was very clear that she was the one who rented it for that time.
Oh, it's
and
obvious,
she's still has not been reinstated. None of this is clearly she's in the right, but they're never going to rehire her.
It's
the damage has been done.
It's the funny thing about this whole thing is that you hear all the time about lefties, who they say oh, I'm getting death threats and I'm getting all these terrible things launched at me and I'm so upset about it, and I'm like conservatives anybody who's on mob attacks, these gang the rainbow mafia kind of people, or the BLM mafia kind of thing, is like they actually do horrible things to people. Whereas
100%.
the people on the left are like, but I'm getting death threats. Oh, you have an example of that? The death threats. I'm like, okay, do you have a text or something like that? Like, death threats.
Or if they give an example, it's, I received phone calls with threatening voicemails. Okay.
Yeah.
How many did you receive? I received 20 voicemails, all from the same person. Yeah, because that makes sense.
Yeah, sure it does. All right, let's move to the next story.
Yeah,
so this is Summit News. Poll: almost 2/3 of Americans view media as truly the enemy of the people. Oh, thank goodness, people. Thank goodness. Mind-blowing damnation of the regime press. A new Rasmussen poll has found that almost 2/3 of Americans believe the media is the enemy of the people. Survey found that a total of 59% of likely voters either strongly or somewhat agree with the statement. Among Republicans, the belief is even more prevalent at 77%. Only a slim majority of Democrats disagree. So apparently, the press has got a bad reputation. among the American public, and it looks like the vast majority of them, like see the media as being completely and horribly, super biased. So, well done, people. Well done. Keep up the good work. And I'm hoping that this actually, this is encouraging, because we always hear stories about how the media is horribly biased, but it is good to see that a lot of the public seems to be seeing the same thing that we're seeing, that the media is biased. Even a lot of Democrats are seeing the same thing. So yeah, let's hope we keep it going.
Oh yeah. All right. So continuing on, U.S. military AI drone simulation kills operator before being told it is bad, then takes out control tower. U.S. Air Force official says it killed the operator because that person was keeping it from accomplishing its objective, which is what?
Whatever the objective was, whatever.
So simulation of the artificial intelligence-enabled drone tasked with destroying surface to air missile sites turned against and attacked its human user, who was supposed to have the final go or no-go decision to destroy the site. The RAS, or Royal Aeronautical Society, said its Future Combat Air and Space Capability Summit in London, which brought together about 70 speakers and more than 200 delegates around the world, representing the media and those who specialize in the armed services industry and academia. The purpose of the summit was to talk about and debate the size and shape of the future's air combat and space capabilities. And so eventually it moved on to AI tests and operations. And they provided a wrap-up with the conference and said that Hamilton was involved in developing the life-saving air and automatic ground collision avoidance system for the F-16 fighter jets, but now focused on flight tests and autonomous systems, including robotic F-16s with dogfighting capabilities. It goes on for a little bit. But yeah, this is, yes.
Skynet?
Skydrone?
Skynet. Basically turned against his master.
Yep.
And tried to kill it.
Before being told it was bad.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's continue on.
All right, so this story is from the Daily Mail. Rise of the mature mom. Record number of women in their 40s. Wow. Are having children after COVID pandemic. But fertility rate among young people is still at a historic low. The CDC said that there were 3,000 fewer births in 2022. Data points to a continuing trend of U.S. births declining nationwide. There was a 12% uptick among women who were aged 45 to 49 years old. First change in this rate since 2015, and to another record level. Experts say that more people are putting off starting a family until later in life. The uptick among older women comes as America's fertility rate hovers at just below 1.7 births per woman, to hit a record low in 2020 at 1.6 when the pandemic led many couples to put off having children. So this is like a very continuing trend. And by the way, there's a lot of factors to this, like fertility rates are being affected, testosterone rates among men. But ultimately, this is the culmination of a society that has devalued the idea of a family. And yeah, it's crazy that women in their 40s are having these babies, and like for anybody who knows, having a baby in your 40s is chock full of all sorts of complications and difficulties. So it's not a good sign. And the less children are being born, the more our society will collapse, because you cannot sustain a society going forward with a collapsed population. Just look at all the native populations across the New World and how they did after their population collapsed.
Okay. 6 revelations from NASA's public panel on UFOs. Strange metallic orbs being spotted all over the world, and unidentified craft is being detected every week. Yes. NASA advisor wants our solar system search for artifacts of alien civilizations. Wow, no. Former NASA officials calls for a permanent office within NASA to study UAP, which I believe is now called unidentified aerial phenomena. Yes.
Yeah.
So, first ever public meeting of NASA's independent study group on UFOs dropped major revelations about unexplained objects being tracked all over the world. It includes serious calls for more resources to examine UFOs, now more technically described as unidentified anomalous phenomena, to better include a range of sightings and cases under study. Comprised of 16 experts ranging from physicists to astronauts, NASA's study group has a lot to say during their 4-hour meeting, which covered everything from the search for alien artifacts to the problem of online harassment by UFO trolls.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What is UFO trolls? I have no idea.
Like, I'm guessing UFOs
Let's see what the link
that
says.
mess with the people.
No, nothing. It's just UFO.
Weird.
So we may never know.
I guess we'll just have to hold on to that.
We may never know. Just as we'll never find out what is a woman. Thanks, Twitter.
Thanks, Twitter.
Yeah. So here you go, Danny.
All right, buddy. So I'll do the next one.
Yeah.
AP. So, for some news, AP called out for a claim that Target staff was subject to violent confrontations over trans pride products. AP Stealth Edits article, after making claim that conservatives were responsible for violence against store staff. Again, this is a false flag. Very common in media and a lot of left-wing organizations. They always try to, whenever there's any kind of backlash, any kind of criticism or anything like that, they will always run back to the victim side. So this is what they did. The Associated Press has been forced into quietly editing an article that repeated a statement from Target claiming that the company's staff have been threatened, with the Newswire adding a baseless claim that there have been violent confrontations over huge collections of pride and transgender themed apparel in stores, including some with Satanist imagery. It has been a story of the week and its backdrop. So basically, here's what they said. As we highlighted yesterday, Target was clear in pointing out that it isn't removing stuff because it's Satanist and pushing sexualization and gender ideology on kids, but rather because they have experienced threats impacting our team members' sense of safety and well-being. The AP took it further, claiming Target has seen intense backlash from some customers, including violent confrontations from its workers. The report was altered without notification after it was challenged by Katrina Trinko, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Signal. While the confrontation claim remains, the word violent has been removed. Did you hear that story, Stephen, recently about Timcast being implicated in in email that was sent to some publication saying that there's gonna be crazy violent attacks on Target or something like that, and they basically said that was a complete hoax. They never received it, never sent, and the publication was incredibly irresponsible for even publishing something like that without ever verifying. Yeah, just keep in mind there are a ton of left-wing news organizations that they don't see lying as a bad thing.
No.
As long as it serves their purposes. AP is one of them.
Yeah.
And you
that's
can do the last
definitely
word,
true.
man.
All right, let's cover the last one. So, from The Blaze, The Little Mermaid allegedly getting negative scores amid unusual voting activity, so IMDb breaks out a little ratings magic. New version of The Little Mermaid movie, which has seen some controversy after lead actress Halle Bailey says she expected backlash. Actress. For her portrayal of the character Ariel, who was originally white, as well as for rewriting the song lyrics to emphasize consent.
Yeah.
What was that?
Somebody has not understood the whole idea of how the movie works.
To avoid kids thinking Prince Eric would ever force himself on Ariel. What did they change the lyrics to?
Oh, they complained. You should look it up. It's
well,
crazy.
I am looking it up. So yes, so the original song where yes you want her, look at her, you know you want to, possibly she wants you too. One way, ask her, don't take a word, not a single word, go on and kiss the girl. And then song from the original cartoon movie had the Ursula singing that men prefer women who don't talk much anyway. Men up there don't like a lot of blabber. They think girl who gossips is a bore. Yeah, that's true. Yet on land, it's much preferred for ladies not to say a word. And after all, what is idle babble for? So, and what's the new?
The new have you seen the some of the song choices on Little Mermaid are horrendous. There's
one terrible song.
Yeah, have you heard that one?
I've heard that one. Yes,
it's horrendous. It is the most horrendous
it's so
song
bad
ever invented. It was just brutal.
But we can't play it because then we'll be dinged by Twitch for a copyright strike. Thanks, Twitch.
Thanks, Twitch. But all the songs. Okay, Little Mermaid is a perfect example of they basically did everything wrong with this movie.
Yes,
the movie making was terrible. The changes were obviously woke. The fact that they race swapped the main actress was like incredibly terrible. The design of all of the animals, including the flounder and Sebastian, was terrible. Like, have you seen what they look like? Like Sebastian and flounder? Like they look horrible.
It's weird.
Horrible. Like it's not even like, I know that they're going for realism, but like they just like they look horrible.
It's messed up.
And so you would actually like be justified in thinking, okay, makes sense that people would like pan this movie and give it a bad review. Yeah. But no. In woke Hollywood, it's like, nope, this is our very special project. So the only reasonable explanation is that it's being review bombed. It's like, no, your movie just sucks, and you basically don't want to take any credit or any responsibility for that. So you're just gonna pretend like oh, it's all these trolls. But you watch any of the review YouTube channels, Neurotic being one of my favorite, and they basically show you how like the whole idea of fan baiting. This movie is perfect example of fan baiting. But yeah, I'm glad that I'm actually glad the movie's going to do badly internationally and it's not going to make money back, because honestly, at this point is like Disney basically keeps dropping turds, shoving them in your face, and be like, pretty. And it's like, no, not pretty at all. No, sorry.
Yeah. Well,
it just gets annoying. So.
But speaking of things that are not pretty, let's talk about the weekly exposure.
All right.
So from Rebel News, Busty Lemieux, someone we haven't heard from in a long time, busted again.
Remember him?
That was the Double Z Cup. That this person, the fake cups. Apparently, this person told the New York Post that they are not prosthetics, that they are real.
Yeah.
And that it's like, and then they were caught like a week after giving that interview with their prosthetics off. And it was like, oh, really? Real. So then David Menzies and Lincoln Jay showed up at a teachers union meeting, which had this individual there.
Mm-hmm.
And so they try and speak to what happened. And then some
crazy stuff happened.
Insanity ensues.
By the way,
yep.
Before you point that, I want to just kind of give a little shout out to David Menzies.
Oh yeah,
that guy has been the subject of so many aggressive attacks. Like, this guy is a true reporter. He got attacked and physically, restrained in a very brutal way by the Quebec police when they were in Quebec. He got manhandled by Trudeau's goons in this alleyway, because he was trying to talk to Trudeau. This guy's been physically attacked so many times. It's terrible. So anyways, keep that in mind. This guy, mad respect. He's an incredible reporter from the Canadian the Canadian basically Fox News before they went the wrong way. But yeah, take it away, Stephen.
All right, so let's watch this and then we can potentially do some back and forth in the chat. So this is only about a minute long. Cool. So this is, for those who just joined, this is an incident that happened in Ontario while confronting the super large fake-breasted teacher at the union meeting. And this is how union teachers respond to reporters who ask basic questions.
Oh, Mr. Lemieux, I see you've got your breast back on. I thought you had them amputated. Hey, that's a... Hey, are you kidding me?
I want the whole world to know you cannot punch or kick or push or hit a Rebel News.
Let's watch the entire altercation.
Why are you protecting a sexual pervert? Excuse me.
Wow.
Why are you protecting a pervert? You can't touch me. You can't touch me. Hey, that's a... Hey, are you kidding me?
Get out.
Are you kidding me? Get out. That's a... Hey, are you kidding me?
Get out.
Are you kidding me?
That is so bad.
That's assault. I'm going this way. Go.
I want to see with them talk to the one guy.
You have no right to be here.
You have no right to put your hands on him either, though.
Let's go. Let's go.
You need to leave. This is a private meeting. You don't have permission here. You have to leave.
This guy.
Did you see him throw him against the door?
I was over there. I wasn't looking.
The camera saw it.
I wasn't looking.
That's what the camera saw. But you have to leave. This is a private meeting, okay? This is a private meeting. You need to leave this.
They create a shield around this individual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
These people are like, they're a cult.
It's a cult, and it's absolutely shameful that these are the people that want to teach children. It's absolutely shameful.
Oh, it's insane. Like, it's what like here in Calgary we had the similar happen where was it Derek Reimer? He was in he was at a drag queen performance, and he spoke up while he was in there, and several men grabbed him and literally like manhandled him and shoved him out of the room violently. And then the news media and everyone else basically had the nerve to suggest that he was the violent one, he was the extremist, and he was a dangerous one, when he was literally like manhandled by people. But the problem right now is that there are people out there in this cult, and it is a cult. You know, it follows all of the qualifications of what constitutes a cult. They fit very, very well. One of the things that they do is that now that they've got the power, they basically feel justified to use violence at any time. They say, you saying something to me, that's violence, and so I have the right to use violence against you. These people are dangerous nowadays. Like they're legitimately dangerous people. And they when people are like this are emboldened, like damn, they do some dangerous stuff. It is crazy to me that these people are like legitimately resorting to violence, and some of them like the women who were there, like nobody was calling out the fact that they were using violence. If you were in a conservative anything, like if you were at Turning Point USA, if you were in some kind of like I don't know, like some conservative conference, whatever. If people got violent with a leftist who was being very
gosh.
Like the conservatives would be like, no, stop that. Like they would call out
instantly
the person,
shut it down. Well, like even if you look at the trucker convoy, you look at the Nazi flag, you look at the Confederate flag, both of those like the Nazi flag, nobody knows where he came from.
Nobody.
Like True North and these other organizations. We have a rough idea of it's somewhat suspicious that he showed up exactly as the media showed up. Let's just say that. But with the Confederate flag guy, the guy shows up and people are screaming at him. Like you can hear in the video, get out! Get out! Yes, okay. I'll take a look at Salty Cracker when I'm uploading the video.
Sounds good. We'll check it out. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, but we thank you for joining our stream.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Well, welcome to the party, pal.
Oh boy. It's not Christmas. You can't quote from Die Hard.
Come on. That quote always works. I mean, I hear it all the time in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so it's good anything. It's good for all occasions.
All right, but that's unfortunately not the end of the weekly exposure. We have 2 more stories.
Oh, it just goes on.
It just goes on and on. So from Redux, trans-identified male arrested after stripping in front of school, threatening people with HIV. 4 police officers subdued a trans-identified male this week after he allegedly exhibited a disturbed outburst in front of a public school in Milan. Trans activists are now calling the arrest transphobic and claiming police used undue force on an unarmed trans woman.
Yeah, because unarmed men, women costumes, threatening children are not dangerous in any way.
So it occurred Wednesday morning as children entered the Comprehensive Institute of Home del Sol. I have no idea what this means. Of Soul?
The Soul, I guess. Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know Italian. If you know Italian, please let me know.
House of the Soul.
It makes sense, actually.
That's a primary school.
Yes. Trans-identified male who is reported to be a Brazilian national reportedly exposed his genitals in front of the children as they filed in for class. The man, whose identity has not yet been confirmed, is reported to be without Italian residency. He began shouting obscenities at the people in front of the school, saying he would infect them with his blood and that he was HIV positive.
Lovely. He sounds like a really upstanding
Officers
man.
were quickly able to apprehend the man and place him in a police vehicle with the intention of driving him to the nearby station. While in the car, he reportedly attempted to self-harm with his hairpins in an effort to cause himself to bleed, claiming he wanted to infect everyone with HIV/AIDS.
He sounds like a very, very
my
upstanding
gosh.
citizen.
Yeah, exceptionally upstanding. This guy is out of his damn mind.
Yep. But it's transphobic, Stephen, because he's transgender. He's off limits. He's sacred. He's like a sacred cow. And like Hindu, in Hindu religion, and you can't touch sacred cows. He's basically he's the modern day sacred cow of the West.
Yeah. Oh yeah, trans individuals, modern day sacred cow. That's why they freaked out when the Nashville student was misgendered. That's why any sort of violence committed by trans individuals is either cast off or immediately ignored,
or defended or justified.
Or
Even
defended or justified.
The Nashville shooter was the most insane thing I've ever.
Oh, it was.
They basically said he's the victim here. He's the victim, and those people, those dead kids, and those dead adults in that school, they're the bad guys because they caused that poor innocent, transgender individual to. They forced his hand and forced him to have to go nuts. It's like, okay, I see something wrong here. Yeah, it's crazy. Like there's that famous clip. I don't know if you can pull it up, Steven. Like, it should be easy to find.
Yep.
That clip from Family Guy. You know, the one where they said,
the one we've watched endlessly over and over.
No, the one where it's like,
I know.
I'm transgender. Oh, okay, you can do anything you want anytime. That's basically what we're seeing, like in all these stories today. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Steven's got the skills to find this thing in no time. By the way, one thing I recommend while he's looking, we've stopped. Like, I've finally been able to convince Steven, stop looking on YouTube and look on Twitter. Twitter seems to be a better source for so many more videos than YouTube. YouTube, whenever you search for
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea. Do whatever you want all the time.
Yep. That's basically all of these transgender individuals. I'm transgender. Hence, I basically get to do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Peter, like that funny song that Peter had, like where he got diplomatic immunity.
Yes.
He could do whatever he wanted. Can't touch me.
Speaking of those who you cannot touch, let's talk about another trans individual who is beating little girls. Parents of teen girl who was allegedly severely beaten by trans student in school restroom sues district. Good for them.
Yeah.
Oklahoma mother filed a lawsuit against her daughter's school district after a teenage girl was severely beaten by a biological boy. So the boy, who identifies as trans, was accused of entering girls' restroom at Edmond Memorial High School and brutally attacking 2 female students. The alleged attacker, identified only as A in the police report, was charged with assault and battery and disorderly conduct. According to authorities, one of the female students sustained head and face injuries, as well as swelling around her eyes and several red areas in her face. Second female sustained injuries to her eye, face, and head with possible concussion. Witness told officers that one of the victims was hit repeatedly, saying the biological boy knocked her out clean on the floor. Under Oklahoma law, students and staff are required to use restrooms that align with their biological sex. Students who identify as trans and refuse to comply with the policy must use a single occupancy restroom or changing room.
Good. That's the way it should be.
So Teresa Gooden, one of the victims, filed a lawsuit against the school district. Her daughter was attacked and severely beaten in the girls' restroom by a biological boy who claimed to be trans. Gooden said the altercation left her with severe physical and mental injuries, severe physical and mental pain and suffering, and severe emotional distress. Yep, that makes sense. And so the school failed to comply with state law that should have prevented the trans students from accessing the women's facilities. All of that is, of course, 100% correct. And yeah, you have to wonder in these circumstances, you have to wonder why they didn't act, or you have to wonder why the leftist culture wants to promote this so much. Why
it's demoralization. My theory is demoralization, and in order to promote demoralization of society, you have to get everyone in the society to basically say a lie. It's the 5 lights in Star Trek, like with Picard.
Oh, I sent that meme or that picture to my coworkers, and they didn't get it. It was like, what? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those who are not understanding, I am the true Trekkie. I will give the Trek reference.
You'll give it. Go for it.
Because I have watched all of Next Gen and all of Voyager and all of Deep Space Nine and all of Enterprise.
Wow, you and Whitney would get along so well.
I'm sure. Well, we do.
Yeah.
So in this episode, the Captain Jean-Luc Picard, is being interrogated because he finds himself in a Cardassian prison. Cardassians were at war with the Federation, and then they're in a period of peace. But he's being interrogated by a particularly nasty Cardassian in this episode, and they're putting him through this.
Kardashians, not the Kardashians.
Yes, it's not the Kardashians. That would be a much worse altogether torture.
That's right.
It's like, can you judge this bag? Like, I bought it.
Oh God, no!
It just doesn't go. There are 4 bags. But so what happens is he sees these lights show up, and he's asked by the interrogator how many lights are there, and he says there are 4 lights, and the interrogator hurts him. It's like, no, there's 5 lights. And this continues, and he keeps asking him, how many lights are there? How many lights are there? And he keeps answering 4, and every time he answers 4, he gets a jolt of pain, and the interrogator says, nope, there are 5. Nope, there are 5. Nope, there are 5. And then eventually, he has this, like, he's in so much pain, he's so afraid, but he summons this last outburst of will, and they ask him, how many lights are there? He just screams out in these very triumphant, there are 4 lights! And then finally, when he's about to be rescued, and he tells the interrogator, and he's like, yep. And he's like, I was so close to giving in and saying there were 5 lights, just to avoid it because I was so afraid. This is why, of course, it's generally considered that any testimony under duress or under torture is considered worthless. Because under torture or under duress, you can convince even the most stoic, even the most hardy of individuals to admit and confess to almost anything if they are trying to get out of some form of physical or emotional or spiritual torment.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as severe as what people are going to be suffering with all of this.
No, but it's close. It's part of the Marxist indoctrination.
It's part of the indoctrination
system. Yes. Because people, I remember I told one of my coworkers, this entire everything that's going on right now is a cultural takeover. It's a Maoist cultural takeover, and like most of these organizations and these groups that are pushing this thing are using Marxist tactics. And he was just like, "What are you talking about?" Like he thought it was crazy, and I'm like, "No, man. Like this is like legit. This is like legitimately what they're doing." And it's like the more you peer, it's like the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. The deeper you go, the more just like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea how big this actually goes. But in reality, like everything that's being done to us, this is being done to us. We're in a basically a full on cultural revolution, a cultural takeover by people who are influenced by Marxist ideologies that were given from Freire, from Kumo, a lot of very famous academics who basically came up with the framework and the strategies and are just basically trying to implement them here. And part of that strategy right now is that people say what's the big deal? What's the big deal about just like calling somebody by their preferred pronoun? And I'm like, it's because you don't really understand what's really going on. You think it's like, oh, we're just making a mountain of a molehill. What you don't understand is this is part of their strategy. They are demoralizing the public, the population, into just saying what they want you to say. Just say there's 5 lights. Just say there's 5 lights, and then you'll be happy. Not realizing that if they can break you and get you to just play along, then they've won. And that's what's going on, really. What's really going on with everything that's happening. So, why are we against like this thing? Because the entire trans movement is it's basically it's predatory, and it's basically it's cannibalistic. It absolutely destroys everyone it touches. And like that story from the school, this is the natural consequence of these kind of policies, because these individuals who are like who are experiencing or going through this like transgender thing, who are being affirmed in it, they're basically being told you are special, and everyone and the whole world owes you, and you're entitled to being treated like like you're a hero. And when they encounter anybody who does not go along with them, then they basically like they freak out, and they basically like they treat them horribly. And sadly, they're also being told nothing will ever happen to you. You will always be bailed out. It's like it's the Mean Girls thing. Remember, if you watch Mean Girls, the mother, Regina George, is the worst parent ever, because she wants to be liked by her kid and all that. So she lets her do pretty much whatever she wants. And as a result, she has a horrible child. That's basically the transgender, like the individuals in the society. And I've met a lot of them. They are not pleasant people. They are only pleasant to people who they deem to be like on their side. They are super unpleasant and downright in some ways very, very horrible to people who they consider to be like non allies. Like they're some of the nastiest people you can probably run into, and people are just as nasty like supporting them. Yes, Steven?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just been going on like.
Oh no, it's
rant.
been fine. It's been fine. I was just looking at this. I was looking at this screenshot of. I was just trying to like do some last self promotion before we finish off the show, and then I came across this tweets from Kiddiso, and she took a screenshot of like the Twitter Spaces that her and all the hosts were doing, and everybody's just like looking extremely bored. And it's just funny. Or like all of them are looking like intently at the screen and like trying to like some of them are looking bored, some are like, but they're all trying to pay attention to them. Matt Walsh is just like on his phone. It's like, yep. Anyways, I think that's probably where we're going to end today's show. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode as compared to our usual Thursday repertoire, but last week was 3 hours. We're not going to do that.
We were a long time last week. That was crazy.
Oh man, it was just went on and on and on. I was like, okay, like this has to stop, please, for the love of God, make it stop. But that's what happens when you invite somebody on, they don't show up. So, such is life.
Always fun. Such is life.
Always poking fun. Anyways, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you were participating in the live stream, thank you very much. We hope to see you again. If you want to follow our other video content, you can check us out on BitChute and Rumble. And of course, for our non kind of edgy content, you can also find some of our content on YouTube. But that's usually where we post the safe stuff. So good luck finding anything really meaningful there. If you want to check us out on our text platforms, you can check us out on our website at theshrewddudes.com. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Getter, Twitter, and that's it. Keep leading up to Parler. It's not a platform anymore. So boo Parler. So without any further ado, Danny, sign us out for the evening.
We are the Shrewd Dudes, and we always like to remember, why be rude when you can be shrewd instead? Thank you for everything. We'll see you again on Tuesday for Tuesday Newsday. And have a great weekend, everyone. And as always, God bless.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.